for this one, we're going to start with some quotes so that I don't get lost in our conversation. One from the Greg Braden book, Awakening to Zero Point, the collective initiation. I forget what year this was written, but as he writes, ultimately, you will grow beyond the teachings of the outer masters. The more of yourself that you know, the fewer teachings there will be. The fallacy of the path, capital P, is that there really is no path at all. There is only your experience. Our lovely Sadhguru with the quote that I began our first of the series of episodes for the day. Karma is the accumulation of past recordings that keep replaying. Yoga helps to transform your life from a replay into a profound experience, and he capitalizes that. Now, as for yoga, I want to address, I forgot the fourth one, so I have my little notes. So what we have when it comes to yoga are 4 different paths. Karma, Bhakti, Jnana, Kriya. Karma is body and action. Bhakti is devotion, emotion, love. Jnana is mind, your intellect. And then Kriya is energy. And so these 4 disciplines of yoga, there's actually a very funny quote, not a quote, it's a story Sadhguru shares about when they're all stuck in a storm and they are forced to be together. Forced because they all have different interests. So here's where, so the people about karma think that the people who are only about devotion, mind, or energy are not taking action. So they like judge. It's judging those people. The ones who only do devotion and emotion, they're always praying or they're, doing the spiritual stuff. And in fact, the mind, the intellect, people are like, why would you do that? So they all have issues with each area of focus. And for energy, something, I forget again how the joke goes. He tells it well, obviously. He knows what he's talking about. I don't. I know concepts that I can share, and I love sharing it because, again, karma, we're going to translate to human stuff. And that's because those who do have karma, there's a way for them to implement dharma. This Purusha experience, pure consciousness, is about you being able to unconsciously love yourself, you, the human you. And the attachment system of you is where that is going to be established. Your 0 to 1 year old detached panicky is your body's remembering, your implicit memory. Your nervous system, which is why, as Patrick Tiahan points out, it's not the little magic wand or holistic or Reiki or whatever it is. It's not going to help you to feel differently. It's once you understand my emotional body was disconnected. It's once you understand, and that's why it's great that we have good mental health professionals out there. The ones who teach about codependency, and in a way not of vilifying it or saying it's good or bad, the ones who teach about different attachment styles, and they are experts in it. And so they have a very soft tone, because here's where I get very excited when I bring together different topics. And I get excited because that's the part of where 5D person, we always love all people. There's nothing wrong with you being yourself. Your personality is what makes you unique. Your charge state, that's a different story, but that's where there's a knowingness. If your heart's hurt, and of course you're not going to be able to be nice. So if your body is uncomfortable, you're not going to be able to live a good life. And that's where hell is in the body of people who have trauma memory. So people who learn because they care, they're not shouting at each other. They get passionate. They're not going to say, oh, I think the group of neurodivergent is special more than the group of neurotypical. We're all brains. We're all people. Furthermore, we don't want to create groups. We want to create a collective. Okay, so let's talk about neurodivergent, neurotypical. Let's have conversations. And that's what the 5D educators are doing. The society, here's our 5D collective. Because we have grown-up tones when we're met with, oh, wow, you're Reiki. Well, I know you're a demon child. Because my theologian, as we know, there's theologians who are actually claiming that Reiki is not holy because we don't fit the little seal of approval. And lo and behold, we will have people who will look at us and basically be in this idea for real, not pretend that we are not nice and demons or something like that. The part about it being mind-blowing for me with Claire's, I'm like, wow. And it wasn't hard to move out of the supernatural because energy is a concept that is quite straightforward. If you're a 5D body type, you're like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Somehow you're just intuitively going to be like, yep. And so here's where we already have our Kriya energy relationship. But the story of Sadhguru is where they come together because of a storm. They're forced to work together. They're forced to find a way to hide. And once they get to, I forget which one of the temples, that the god that they had all independently prayed to finally shows up. And they're like, why would you show up now? And this deity is like, because you're all working together. When you look at the human mind, which is where our brain is the organ, and the mind, they say, is separate. They talk about it in a different way. So mind and brain different. I'm not going to get into it because I learned it from Daniel Siegel, but I don't remember how to explain the difference, except for brain is the organ, and it's an embodied brain, so it has our nervous system involved, and that's very straightforward, as is the fact that we have these three main ways, and or only ways our nervous system responds, although Stephen Porges is still proving in his empirical research this. So we have people of the mental health community that don't agree with compassion-based therapy. They don't agree with doing the inner child work. You know, we have, I love Sadhguru, but when he says you don't have to pay attention to the psychology stuff, no, you do. He says it because he's a spirituality guru. It's normal. His subject matter is spirituality. He gives you yoga. He gives you the philosophy. He gives you consciousness, and it's beautiful. I've taken his engineer, Shambhavi Kriya, Grace of Yoga, all beautiful. Yoga works your ventral vagus vagal nervous system. That's what it does. It works your prefrontal cortex because it says, up, shut up, sit and meditate and connect to the stars. And you got people who spend years. There's this one person, they're a person who does singing bowls or whatever bowls, sound bowls. He says for I don't know how many years, he just spent time in silence. I'm like, wow, that's a long time. Wouldn't you rather work with a good therapist than sit in silence for all those years? What happens if you die? You didn't actually make use of your human life with the relationships with people. But that's the part where relationships are not safe for those who don't understand that if your body's not safe to be yourself, and this is that area of your mammalian heritage is not engaged, when you have an emotional body that is disconnected because you're not handling them, and then if you're sensitive in certain ways to your relationships because your ego's sensitive, and when people do, I'm going to cancel you, they don't know that that's not actual healthy self-worth. It's not even actual emotional maturity. They just got it from some article that they read on whatever is the popular trending topic of the day, because that's where we're at. People do trends. So the 5D educators are going to explain things, and some of us, we mix up human, spiritual, and spirituality. So I know there was one more topic I wanted to touch upon to connect these lovely little dots, and that would be karma is unconscious, in one of the other quotes that Sadhguru shares, and he has a book out, Behavior. And so here's where once you have a handle on your wise adult self, it's because you're handling your adaptive child. So you're not going to be trying to prove you're right or wrong in any conversation. You're not going to be making it all about yourself. You're not going to be trying to control a situation. You're going to be out of those trauma safety behavior responses. It's not because something has changed inside of you. It's because you've become aware of your charge. And you become aware of how you're relating to another human being, and it's from here, because that's where our ventral vagus nerve, this system, it's all over your face. Your heart is not on your sleeve, as Stephen Porges points out, it's on your face. And when we're in our ventral vagus nervous system, and that's why the tone changes versus when you're in a fight flight. So if you get angry, there's a difference between a person who's in anger with a survival mode on, not only their brain, not only their actual body, you're going to notice it from the tone. Same thing with if there's fear in a tone, and or if there's not. So we don't always hear our tones, but once you pay attention to the charge, it is straightforward to notice, okay, I'm at ease while I'm engaging. So there's a lot to be talked about. We touch here and there and everywhere, and this one is bringing to you the fact that you can handle your emotional regulation, you can handle your mental regulation, but that's only if you work with the two. Those who have a challenge know of good therapists like Patrick Tiahan, who work with childhood trauma survivors or attachment therapists, codependent therapists, people who can support you to understand how you are, and then add yoga, holistic. Tune in for more. Have a great day.